Hey everyone, we've got a very COA subject to talk about today, but before getting into the subject matter, I want to share with you how I became interested in it. It started with the trip to the mall several weeks ago. Then I had to make 2 return trips to the mall on other days. What I realized was that there was a perfect correlation between going to the mall and then trying to kill myself the morning after. Now, earlier today when I was watching 2 rabbits fuck, I realized that there very well may be a causal connection betwixt the two. 3 times going to the mall, and then 3 suicide attempts. Now, in all honesty, I haven't been trying to kill myself like a real man. Frankly, it's a little embarrassing. For example, the last time I took an entire bottle of Flintstone vitamins. I think it was a good honest effort, but I think the problem might have been that they were gummies, and I just couldn't chew them fast enough so that toxic crap could flood my brain and kill me. That, and they were vitamins. So you can X that method off your list, take it from me, you're welcome. By the way, this isn't supposed to be funny, it's the only way I can think of to be a public service. The time before that, I laid on some railroad tracks, but as you can see, it didn't work by virtue of the fact that I'm still here walking and breathing with you on the shitball. The problem with lying on the tracks is that your instincts kick in and get you to move every time a train comes. I tried tying my feet to the tracks, but my goddamn subversive mind kept tying the knots wrong. One time the loop was too big and my foot slipped right through. And the next time, all I had to do was pull one end to untie the knot, exactly how you would untie your shoes, and wouldn't you know it, a few seconds later I'm watching that train whiz by instead of being right under it like I was supposed to be. Fuck me. There's a big problem when attempting suicide, and that's that your own mind is trying to sabotage your efforts. Now that leads me to believe that we all carry a piece of the devil within, because who else would interfere with my free will decision and stop me from freeing myself from this accursed world? Some evil force does not want me dead, and as long as I'm here, I'll be investigating what that force might be. Now, another time, I tried hanging myself from a pipe in the basement with dental floss. I got lucky and broke the floss, fortunately not the pipe. Sometimes you really don't think too clearly before you do it. It would have been horrible to have flooded the basement, just another damn reason to kill yourself. But you see, I don't want to leave a mess. That's a big problem with the whole thing. You figure that people already have enough on their plates already, and then they've got to deal with your sorry carcass too. Damn thing is hanging from a pole all purple in the face and stinking to high hell. It's really inconsiderate. The first person that sees you is going to scream, maybe have a heart attack themselves, and then a bunch of professional dildo heads are going to have to come over and put you in a bag and carry your damn body out to the dumpster. I'll tell you that I really don't understand all these people that hang themselves, and I'll tell you why I don't. It's easy. Think of your own home and try to think of things you can hang yourself from. Now, most of us who want to kill ourselves want to do this shit right. We're not looking at doorknobs and little plant hooks and light fixtures as viable options. Even if you had a mansion with an enormous entry foyer and a giant chandelier, you'd have to get a ladder to get your sorry ass up there, and that in itself is a problem. After all, who wants a ladder spoiling the scene when people arrive? You at least want some mystery as to how you got up there, leaving people puzzled and arriving at the conclusion that you must have taken a flying leap from the balcony and somehow tied the rope while you were clinging on. But let's be reasonable. You still want to check to see how much weight the chandelier could support first, because who the hell wants to end up on the floor with a broken pelvis and tiny cuts all over your body from the broken glass, screaming for help because you forgot your phone and you can't yell Alexa loud enough? Alexa, you fucking bitch! You stupid mangy whore, Alexa! You old worn out douchebag, listen to me! Some dumb fucks are probably listening as the whole thing transpires, laughing their asses off because you and I know that her robotic ass is controlled by a bunch of clowns who still own their high school letter jackets and they are having a blast at your expense. Mark my words, you think I'm crazy now, but just wait a couple years, as I have a tendency to be quite prescient in these matters. But really, what are you going to hang yourself from? We all think of the closet first as that's where you're supposed to do it. I personally do not have a bar strong enough or high enough in my closet to complete a viable hanging session. I think the garage might be a good option, but I haven't yet analyzed the beams thoroughly enough to give it a go. Like I said, 3 failed attempts, and I want to get it right the next time. After all this failure, I'm not just going to look at a beam and assume that it can support me. I've got to do some testing first with sandbags or something. But let me tell you a problem. It's just like getting a haircut. Whenever you need one, it's inconvenient, and when you're having a good hair day, but you have the time, you think, nah, looks too good today. Whenever you really need that gun, it always happens to be after hours at the local gun shop. Now, if I was responsible, I would go get the gun to have it handy ahead of time, but do I do that? Well, of course not. Why? Because I have a subversive mind that is thwarting my very own intentions. Of course, I've looked into death by gunshot as well, and first of all, I have to say that I'm grateful to be living in an age where we have this technology available to us to make the deeds so much easier and certain. The homicides I've been involved in have all been death by gunshot, and I can tell you from experience that it is very effective, 100% so far. But until my body count gets a little higher, I don't feel that statistic has a high validity quotient, but on the other hand, let's not invalidate personal experience. Now let me tell you something about murder, if you're thinking about it. The first few are by far the hardest. Everyone agrees with me on this, so don't sweat it too much if you're panicking right after the act or even for the next several days. Understand that you did something a little unconventional and that it's normal and it's okay to be anxious. You will get over it, unless of course you did something really fucking stupid like bite your victim and leave teeth marks. I'm assuming you'll be intelligent regarding the whole thing. I cannot stress enough that you wear gloves just in case you leave fingerprints, and that you wear a hat that covers all of your hair. Listen, I know you think it's a little cliche to wear a stocking over your head, but you won't feel dumb later when you're wondering about hidden cameras. Another very important thing, don't talk. What did I say, people? Don't talk. You never know these days what kinds of technology people have, so make sure not to talk, because I know damn well you want to say something like, "You shouldn't have fucked my wife, you worthless piece of shit," or "You think shorting me on my last paycheck was a smart decision now, Porky?" Resist the urge, be disciplined, and remember to ask God for help in times of weakness. Now, speaking of the devil, I do recommend that you go to one of those Catholic churches that keeps open doors during the days and spend a half hour or so the few days before praying and telling Jesus about your apprehensions. Of course, under your breath and use discreet language. Be honest and tell him everything, regardless of how petty you might think it is. Like you're worried about leaving footprints on the carpet, for example. By the way, you know you have to trash all the clothes you wear soon after you completed the job, right? Right? Don't look at me with those goonball eyes like I'm weird when I'm just trying to protect you. It's rude. So, what have we got so far? Gloves, headwear, prayer, trash in your garments. Be quiet. Jesus Christ. The fact that I even have to say that last one says a lot about you people. Obviously, you don't want evidence lying around, to be blunt. As for motive and alibi, that's a whole lecture unto itself, but I can offer you a few pointers here. Remember the aphorism, time is the enemy of truth. Here's what you've got to remember as far as motive. The more time passes between the offense against you, which causes you to want to commit the act, the more obscure such shall be the trail which leads back to you. Let me tell you something, folks. Murder is not for impatient people. I'll tell you a secret. Once you aren't too angry at the prick you want to kill anymore, that's the time when you can reasonably take their sorry ass out. You might start thinking, well, I don't really want them dead any longer, to which I proclaim, nonsense! You need to get in touch with that anger you had the day you found that rat bastard molesting your dog in front of the dollar store. You gotta dial that shit in and get in touch with those largely repressed emotions that practically scream, the world is far too small of a place to coexist with that son of a bitch. So be patient. Be creative in finding ways to channel your anger in the meantime, like flower arrangement, dressage, or perhaps landscape painting. It is ironic that you need to quell your fiery emotions to almost non-existence in order to complete the act, but hey, I've said it many times and I'll say it again. Murder is not for everybody. If you want to learn the art of murder, you have to be an artist and a murderer at heart. Now, a few words about alibi. Everyone dreams of having the ideal alibi which is highly confirmable and places you away from the scene at the time of death. Well, keep dreaming, because it ain't gonna happen. Here's what I have to say about it. You must be as natural as you can be the days following the act, because the smell of fear will make you like red-hot bait in an open field with vultures swarming up above. This is where the rubber hits the road and all of your prayer, meditation, and yoga is rigorously tested. Remember what I said about prayer? Do you really have faith? Then in the most nerve-wracking post-homicidal aftermath, it will take over and camouflage you with nearly total secrecy. Let me lay it down plain and simple. If you want an ideal alibi, then hire a hitman, because you ain't no real murderer. A few more words about homicide and then we'll return to suicide. Remember, you will get better at it the more you do it. The first time you'll have thoughts like, did I touch anything I wasn't supposed to? Did I breathe too loudly? Did I cough or grunt or fart or do anything else that voice recognition technology could pick up on? These ring a bell, anyone? You? Yes, you? Only a murderer can recognize a real murderer. A couple more questions. Did I completely cover my hair? What if an eyebrow hair or an arm hair fell out? What if I shed some skin cells? Obviously, we need to bathe first and scrub ourselves down. Remember, folks, you prayed about this and meditated upon this act conscientiously, and in all likelihood, you'll be okay. Find something funny on TV to take your mind off it, or play the hot new game of pickleball, which is sweeping the nation. And if you're tortured by guilt, don't be. Remember, the prick deserved it. You proved this to yourself by being patient and waiting. You just didn't kill that dumb fuck on a whim. Alright, murder was a little diversion, but the thing is, I'm just trying to be helpful. And if I sense that even just one of you, just one, is thinking about committing murder, I can't just skip over it like it's unimportant and assume that you know what you're doing. You know as well as I do that it would be highly amoral to do so. Furthermore, if I want to be a master in the art of murder, I have to teach the art to aspiring students in order to truly become a master. Okay, a quick aside of the Jews now, because we always have to address the Jews because they comprise such a huge percentage of the population. This is my advice to you. Don't commit murder. Why? Because you suck at it. But if you want a more satisfying reason, read those lame-ass 10 Commandments of yours in which your so-called God told you not to do it while he was slaughtering entire nations. I was born into the religion, and by some miracle, I've been able to overcome it and become a good murderer, but you're just going to have to accept the fact that I'm an exceptional case. So, I got into the whole murder thing because I was talking about guns and the dilemma about blowing your brains out. Hanging, we've agreed, has its issues, although it's fairly clean. If you're going to hang yourself in any case, do your research first. Do you want to die by breaking your neck or via asphyxiation? That's just one of the questions you'll have to consider. In contrast to the cleanliness of hanging, death by gunshot is very messy. You can entirely forget embalming if this is your exit strategy. Now, some say that a shot to the temple is best, whereas others say to stick the gun in your mouth and fire upwards. Remember, your head is going to be a total goddamn mess regardless of what you decide to do, and unfortunately death is not a sure thing, as a number of people have lived yet have probably been too brain dead or deformed to be able to tell the tale. If you're wise, you might be thinking, gee, wouldn't it be nice if there was something akin to a MedExpress for assisted suicide? Or wouldn't it be nice if we still had guillotines in the town square and you could just research the right crime to incur the honor of public decapitation? Maybe you're thinking about moving to one of the 2 countries in the world where assisted suicide is legal. Let me tell you, brothers and sisters, you are wise indeed to ask these questions. But you're not living in a fairy tale, so get your ass back to reality, alright? If you want to shoot yourself in the head, just make sure to get a powerful gun and say a prayer before you pull the trigger for the bullet to find the perfect trajectory. And make sure you fire the damn thing a bunch of times first to get the hang of it. I know it's a bitch, but believe me, you don't want to botch this method. Perhaps the bigger questions you need to ask would be where and how to do it. Should you just do it in your office or studio? You'll be easy to find, of course, but quite a horror to behold. You'll make quite a stain on the carpet, and quite likely, blood will spatter over many other objects as well and could even hit the ceiling. At this point, dear friends, you're undoubtedly thinking, shouldn't we just make life a little bit better so we don't want to kill ourselves in the first place? Children, you must not allow yourself to think so rationally, as suicide must have an air of impulsivity to it, lest it never be carried out. We want to plan, but our planning must be in order to prepare ourselves so that God can take over at the right time. Returning to the gunshot method, we could shoot ourselves to death in the woods, either covering ourselves up with dirt and leaf litter, or just do it without such initiatory measures. The problem with going to the woods is that during the drive and or walk there, you're quite likely to talk yourself out of it on the way, and once you get there, if you have any trace of OCD, you'll be obsessed with finding the perfect spot. But remember, kiddos, the perfect spot does not exist. Whether you want to leave a disgusting mess in or around your home and leave your loved ones with a horrific memory that will leave them irreparably traumatized, or remove your body from their sight by heading out to nature, just know that there rarely is a perfect way. As reliable as gunshot may be, trust me when I state that it is only for the impulsive type and is not the way of the philosopher. Another method you might entertain will be jumping off a building. One question, you got balls? Because you're going to need them, and you better pray that you won't survive the fall. Now, you could jump off the Golden Gate Bridge into the icy water, as many do. Yet again, the question arises, you got balls? Because ain't no pussies going jumping off that bridge. Whether you choose it or another towering bridge or cliff, just remember to pat yourself on the back on the way down. Because you got some serious bison-sized, no, woolly mammoth-sized balls. There's a goddamn woolly mammoth. You walked away from me, you son of a bitch. Another way to go, you could strap weights to yourself and paddle a canoe out to the middle of a lake and jump in. If you're going to do this, I recommend placing the suicide note in a plastic bag and staple it to the crossbeam of the canoe. No sense in writing a note and having it blow away or get drenched and smeared by the rainfall. I'll return to the note writing in a minute. Another method of suicide, you could slit your wrist, but obviously the problem with that is it's not instantaneous. You'll have to wait, and that just sounds kind of sucky to me. I like the idea of one irreversible action with death coming swiftly afterwards. Again, you'll have to consider where to do it, the bathtub being the most obvious place, and also a considerate place in light of how messy it will be. You see, I know you are a good person and are considerate of other people. Pills are another good option, but you need to do your research first. You might want to take a shitload of sleeping pills first, and when you're mostly knocked out, then take the killer pills so you just pass right the fuck out and die. Trust me, you don't want too much time to call 911, which you're likely to do if the pills take too long. Now listen, dear friends, you're just like me. You're thinking, I've got a hatchet out in the garage, so in theory, shouldn't I just be able to approach my neighbor and ask him one last favor? In a more sane world, yes, of course. But let's pretend that they did comply. A neighbor who actually would agree to do so would in all likelihood not be able to administer the perfect swing. You need a goddamn mountain man for this, but let's get off this idea now because it ain't happening. The ideal method of suicide, recommended by the authorities in the field, is by using gases like helium to end your life. And if you're really considering killing yourself, this would be the way to go. But it's a lot of work, a lot of details to consider, and you're still leaving your carcass in the hands of others. All ways are a pain in the ass, as pretty much everything is in this world, including getting the hell out of here. There's no way that's not a pain in the ass, especially impalement, so please don't do that. Now, let's get to the note. If you're the type who will write a note, you're probably the type who's less likely to commit the act because it entails premeditation when suicide above all usually needs to be impulsive. But anywho, first of all, don't type the note, write it in pen, and of course don't use erasable ink. Use your best penmanship and get some special paper with a more natural quality to it. Trust me, stark white paper is all wrong. Try to keep the note light and joyful and instill confidence in others that this really was the best decision and you did it for the benefit of everyone, including yourself. Do your best to uplift others and reassure them that this world is not the real life anyhow. If you have stickers, use them. Adorn the note with rainbows and ponies, and if you're an artist, make a nice border around the edge. In other words, make it frameable. Make it a final statement, worthy of being fondly adored for many generations. Shit, if you want, frame the damn thing yourself, or maybe even laminate it. Well, that's about all the advice I can give you. Remember, people, that you are considering killing yourself because people don't give a fuck, regardless of how much they say otherwise. Remember, you've tried 1,000,000 times to lift yourself back up, and life is still a bitch. Remember, you've done all kinds of therapies, meditation, prayer, exercises, drugs, yada yada yada, and proven to yourself that all that shit does not work. Remember, the fact that you want to die is only because nothing has worked to relieve you of pain, and anyone who speaks ill of others who do end up killing themselves are the lowest life forms on the planet, not exempting pond scum. We are living in a world where a suicide occurs about every 40 seconds, and the number may be around 1,000,000 a year. If this is actually taking place, let's not kid ourselves. We don't give a fuck, and that's self-evident. If we truly cared, we would solve the problem swiftly and easily. Go ahead and say amen if you really get it. If not, you are the problem, so listen up now. The problem is, quite simply, that you are little. You're fucking pathetically small. You live in a little bubble of self-obsession and implanted ideas and believe yourself to be a real entity. You walk around oblivious to the pain of others and have no idea how to respond naturally and spontaneously to others. You believe it's okay to live as strangers to society and maintain your special circles of acceptable people. You have no vision of how life is supposed to be and value all of the bullshit the system tells you about the hard facts of life. You bitch about all the problems in your life and the world, but are entirely unwilling to see how you participate in the madness yourself and always point your finger at other people and institutions. You value suits and ties and luxury cars and gated communities and strip malls where you can fill your house with useless crap, keeping busy with inanity so you remain oblivious to your own insanity. You think about problems in conventional ways, never able to penetrate to the underlying issues, reacting idiotically to every story you hear with your priceless opinion, unaware of how your reaction proves your stupidity. You respect the free will decisions of others who unwittingly support the madness of the world, unable to understand that ignorance never deserves to be supported at all, and most so-called free will decisions are nothing but programmed identities serving their time in the cosmic meat grinder. If you truly knew who you were, you would know yourself to be a child of the Most High and would know that you are big enough to play with fully awakened souls living in the true heavenly reality. You would know that heaven was yours because you are a vibrational match and your spirit can flow in perfect harmony. You would know that while you are here, you would have only one purpose, namely to bring the light of heaven into the world. You would know that your mission is to find others who are ready to play big and collaborate to form inexorable synergy. If you truly knew who you were, you would not be able to tolerate this little life and your little existence for another moment. You would not be able to tolerate the death toll of the worldwide suicide epidemic. You would not be able to tolerate the skyrocketing rates of chronic disease which propel many to take their own lives after a long, painful, and ultimately failed search for healing. You would not be able to tolerate any more comforting words from false teachers of light who encourage you to be self-obsessed and find your own way. You would not be able to tolerate living this pathetically small life where problems are rampant and normal and where there is no real tragedy because we are only statistics. Laugh we must, for we must release the unbearable tension from our bodies. Yet is bitter tragedy ever worth a little humor? Of course not. I myself live in a nightmare of chronic pain which has made my life a living hell, only to be made worse by the near complete lack of care and concern by this world. Despite my pain, I stay lighthearted and do my best to uplift everyone else, yet rarely is the favor ever returned to me, for I live in a world of zombies. Asleep people who are so little, so self-obsessed that my pleas for help cannot penetrate their shit-filled skulls. I care so much about people and I desire so much to be of help and assistance here, and I have worked through torturous pain to contribute to the world. Given my weakened state, I don't know how I could possibly be of more help to humanity. The last thing I want to do is take my own life, but how long can I justify living in a world where my voice is not heard, my pain does not matter, in essence, a world that truly does not give a fuck? If life did not matter, suicide would be an easy decision, but we know that life does matter, that we live in a world worth fighting for, and the struggle to end the suffering of the world is a just and noble cause that we cannot let go of regardless of how much pain it causes us. Why can't we let go? Because we care so much. We care so much that we live in unbearable pain in order to spare others the pain of us leaving. We care so deeply that our unrequited care for life only intensifies our pain. We care beyond our ability to express in words, often wishing that we did not feel so deeply or even did not feel at all. Perhaps if we measured success by the number of suicides in the world, we would know without any doubt that we are in a world of little people who are aimless at best and are certainly not progressing forward. It is not time to wake up, for you should have been awakened long ago. It is not time for action, as it was time for action years ago. It is past time and is even beyond past time. I am giving you everything I am capable of. Please be willing to receive what I have to offer and support me however you are able to, as your support can lift me up so that I can give how I truly desire to. I close now by saying please do not kill yourself or anyone else for that matter. You truly do matter, and as long as I am here, I will fight for you. Now let's save the friggin' world already.